Good morning, and welcome to the Mindfulness Tree Meditation Community. And we welcome Dee back. She attended the retreat that we had last spring, so it's good to see you and have you here. And those online, welcome. I'm so glad that we can do this because it makes this so accessible. So what we're going to do today with our opening meditation is we're going to do pretty much a sitting meditation, but then we're going to end the meditation with the five mindfulness trainings. Hi, Max. The five mindfulness trainings from Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm really trying to do this once a month, and this being the first week in the month. Welcome again. I thought that this is how we'll conclude, because reading the first two chapters of Pema Chodron, she talks about motivation. And what is the commitment that we make to meditation? And so looking at the mindfulness trainings, it's not that she makes a comment that I thought was really good, that, let's see, where is it? Oh, the virtuous behavior is not about doing good because we feel bad and need to shape up, but how we choose to act can be guided by wisdom and grace. And so that's why I thought this would be a good day for us to remember the mindfulness trainings, because it would be easy to fall into the idea that, oh, there are do's and don'ts, as we enter into the mindfulness path. But it's basically the good that we do is not just for ourselves or to make us feel better, but it's for the benefit of all. And when we hear things about taking care of the earth and taking care of ourselves, that it all comes back to personal responsibility. So with that, I'm going to invite the bell. The words of Master Thich Nhat Hanh: listen, listen. The sound of the bell calls me back to my true home. And so as we make the transition from what we were doing before we came to formal meditation, we arrive and settle. But really, it is all part of the same practice. The practice that brings us back to our true home. As we allow the body to settle, we invite our good friend mindfulness, sati, which is that open awareness that allows for whatever is present to arise in a spirit of curiosity and examination, and allowing us to rest our focus lightly on the present moment, without forcing, without furrowing our brow, but rather an openness, a softness. So with that sense of focus, we can become aware of the body breathing. And the beauty of that is that our focus can rest lightly on the inhale and the exhale. Perhaps noticing how the breath enters the body and how it leaves. Perhaps for the first time today, noticing the inhale and the exhale. bringing a softness, perhaps to that inner voice. It can often tend to be harsh and judgmental. But the breath allows us to know that we're okay. We can settle into that Buddha nature, that we are good, just who we are. You notice that your focus, that your attention has wandered off, just gently, as you would a little puppy, bringing it back. Without force, but with a light hand. And then moving that focus to inquiring, what is my intention for today? What is it that motivates me to sit in meditation, to gather with other noble friends? What brings you here? Maybe it's something simply like wanting to experience peace in a broken world. Or perhaps it's motivated by a desire to learn and to understand. There are no wrong answers, but there is an openness to making the inquiry. And it might be different tomorrow. But for right now, for this present moment, what brings you here? It might be for a sense of guidance, to free ourselves and others from habitual suffering, or simply to wake up and pay attention. To wake up means to pay attention to our thoughts, to our words, or action. And that is karma, the results of our actions. There are some days that perhaps our thoughts or words or our actions are not as skillful as on another day. That's the beauty of coming back to the breath and coming again. And so the reminder of the 5 mindfulness trainings that Thich Nhat Hanh Plum Village tradition gives to us are simply guidelines for how to live our daily lives in a way that nourishes happiness and transforms ill-being. The 5 mindfulness trainings come from the 5 lay precepts that are practiced in Buddhism. And they are also a kind of thinking and acting that have the power to heal. And so I will share these this morning as a monthly remembrance to renew our intentions as aspiration practice. The first mindfulness training, reverence for life. Aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life, I am committed to cultivating the insight of interbeing, compassion, and learning ways to protect the lives of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I'm determined not to kill, not to let others kill, and not to support any act of killing in the world, in my thinking or in my way of life. Seeing that harmful actions arise from anger, fear, greed, and intolerance, which in turn come from dualistic and discriminative thinking, I will cultivate openness, non-discrimination, and non-attachment to views in order to transform violence, fanaticism, and dogmatism in myself and in the world. The second mindfulness training, true happiness. Aware of the suffering caused by exploitation, social injustice, stealing, and oppression, I am committed to practicing generosity in my thinking, speaking, and acting. I am determined not to steal and not to possess anything that should belong to others. And I will share my time, energy, and material resources with those who are in need. I will practice looking deeply to see that the happiness and suffering of others are not separate from my own happiness and suffering. That true happiness is not possible without understanding and compassion. And that running after wealth, fame, power, and sensual pleasures can bring much suffering and despair. I'm aware that happiness depends on my mental attitude and not on external conditions. And that I can live happily in the present moment simply by remembering that I already have more than enough conditions to be happy. I am committed to practicing right livelihood so that I can help reduce the suffering of living beings on earth. and reverse the process of global warming. The third mindfulness training, true love. Aware of the suffering caused by sexual misconduct. I am committed to cultivating responsibility and learning ways to protect the safety and integrity of individuals, couples, families, and society. Knowing that sexual desire is not love, and that sexual activity motivated by craving always harms myself as well as others. I'm determined not to engage in sexual relations without true love and a deep, long-term commitment made known to my family and friends. I will do everything in my power to protect children from sexual abuse and to prevent couples and families from being broken by sexual misconduct. Seeing that the body and mind are one, I'm committed to learning appropriate ways to take care of my sexual energy and cultivating loving kindness, compassion, joy, and inclusiveness, which are the four basic elements of true love for my greater happiness and the greater happiness of others. Practicing true love, we know that we will continue beautifully into the future. The fourth mindfulness training, loving speech and deep listening. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others, I am committed to cultivating loving speech and compassionate listening in order to relieve suffering and to promote reconciliation and peace in myself and among other people, ethnic and religious groups, and nations. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I am committed to speaking truthfully, using words that inspire confidence, joy, and hope. When anger is manifesting in me, I am determined not to speak. I will practice mindful breathing and walking in order to recognize and to look deeply into my anger. I know that the roots of anger can be found in my wrong perceptions and lack of understanding of the suffering in myself and in the other person. I will speak and listen in a way that can help myself and the other person to transform suffering and see the way out of difficult situations. I am determined not to spread news that I do not know to be certain, and not to utter words that can cause division or discord. I will practice right diligence to nourish my capacity for understanding, love, joy, and inclusiveness, and gradually transform anger, violence, and fear that lie deep in my unconsciousness. The fifth mindfulness training, nourishment and healing. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I am committed to cultivating good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and my society by practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming. I will practice looking deeply into how I consume the four kinds of nutriments, namely edible foods, sense impressions, volition, and consciousness. I'm determined not to gamble or to use alcohol, drugs, or any other products that contain toxins, such as certain websites, electronic games, TV programs, films, magazines, books, and conversations. I will practice coming back to the present moment, to be in touch with the refreshing, healing, and nourishing elements in me and around me, not letting regrets and sorrows drag me back into the past, nor letting anxieties, fear, or craving pull me out of the present moment. I am determined not to try to cover up loneliness, anxiety, or other suffering by losing myself in consumption. I will contemplate interbeing and consume in a way that preserves peace, joy, and well-being in my body and consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of my family, my society, and the earth. They dedicate these trainings to help alleviate suffering and to show love, compassion, joy, and inclusiveness with ourselves and others. So thank you for your meditation, for your commitment to motivation. So now we're going to move into walking meditation in the sanctuary or the social hall. And what I invite you to do is perhaps think about one of the trainings and bring it to mind as you walk, and maybe maybe a commitment to practice in a way that will be helpful for yourself or for others. So go to our walking meditation.